and everyone becomes focused on money and politics and geopolitical, but they're not looking at all of the other elements. And then when they do look at the other elements, they look at them with an agenda, what they're selling, what they want, or what they wish for. And so we open our minds to what's out there, and all we're looking for is to find the truth in anything that we look for. So we're open to anything, any possibility.
So if Barack Obama says, I am going to commit $10 billion for the development of either zero-point energy / cold fusion, you think that might be brilliant, I would guess.
I would say that if he was going to commit maybe $100 billion, I would say it would be brilliant. But then I would also say that considering the two criminal parties that are running the show, that the whole program would be bastardized in some manner or another because of all the pork barrels and the favoritism, so you wouldn't get really a clean program, because anything that Washington touches is doomed to failure. But that would be the greatest possibility of something happening. Again, and I look at these, and I'm not exaggerating when I call them criminal organizations. You know, we're fighting a war based on reasons that are not true, whether or not people support the war or not. The reasons of Saddam Hussein having weapons of mass destruction and ties al-Qaeda are not are in fact not true. So we're killing innocent people. I find that a criminal act. And they're robbing us blind on broad daylight. They're not even pulling the rabbit out of the hat. It's right there in front of you. So given who the organizations are and what they represent, anything that they touched is almost doomed to failure.
So what do we do? I know you don't give specific recommendations, but there's got to be a way out of here, Gerald.
Well, there is. As I said, you know, there has to be a wild card. But for the rest of the people out there that are waiting, and again, we wrote about this in the last issue of the Trends Journal in anticipation of the election. We said people are going to be waiting till after the election to see what happens. And so that means they're going to be frozen in their tracks rather than taking evasive measures now. So here's, for example, and there was a hint that came out tonight, and they were talking about in the first months of the Obama presidency that they would issue executive orders. How about an executive order, George, similar to FDR, being that that's who they're going to emulate? An executive order such as the Federal Emergency Banking Act of 1933, when they called a bank holiday. Holiday, I love the words they use. Let's have a holiday. You're going to take your money. Is basically what that one comes out to. Oh, yeah, look, we have to close the banks down. You can't get your money out. You're going to be able to get it out. Don't worry. You just can't get it out all at once. And, of course, they may also call for the repatriation of gold. And we've been saying that as well. And that's what they did in 33, and we think they're going to do those kind of draconian measures because it's going to be an easy one. Bush is going to end up being the most hated man in America once that mantle comes off. They're going to blame, and rightfully they're going to blame this administration. Wrongly, they're not blaming the Clinton administration as the ones, without going into a lot of detail,
right,
the ones that really, pull the plug on the Glass-Steagall Act, et cetera, et cetera. So they're going to have an easy scapegoat. And the people will be ready to listen and to follow with this grand illusion of hope. Hope is an empty emotion. You know, we could all hope for anything, but all of us that are adults and try to become accomplished at what we do know it takes work. It doesn't take hope.
I love you, Gerald, but I feel like I'm waiting for a birthday party and you're the guest, and someone comes in and says, Gerald got into a car accident, he's not coming tonight. It's almost as if the euphoria will be gone. How soon into this?
We think it's going to really start to hit home probably by February, March. You know, there's going to be the euphoria will take us through the new year. But, the world markets take their own course, and you can never know what's going to happen. There's already tensions again as we're speaking, building up over in Israel.
Right.
And so, there's the whole geopolitical firestorm out there, and no one has control that people want to believe they have. And the people are very, very, very desperate for something good to happen, and they'll believe anything. I'm watching this going on, and as we called it, this is the presidential reality show. You had both candidates of very thin substance talking big games with nothing to back it up. By their deeds you shall know them. What have any of these people done so great? Oh, so now the Democrats are going to be in power. Oh, terrific. Harry Reid, what's her name over there, Pelosi. Oh, all these brilliant people are now going to have a free hand to do something that they couldn't do before? So all of a sudden, instant brilliance is going to come in after the inauguration. So no, cold hard facts are going to be hitting home in the cold hard winter, and that's when we're going to start to see a lot of dissent. And by the way, this is important also as we look at these things. It's much easier to attack, for some reason, a Democratic Congress or president than it is for a Republican. For example, if you had said anything bad about Bush, and again, we're political atheists, so we just take shots at all of them, you were called a Bush basher.
Right.
Right?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
And you were really ground into the ground for a long time.
For years.
For years, and you're talking to someone that took a lot of shots over those years, because we had, of course, forecast that the Iraq War would end up exactly as it is now a month before it began, and on the economy. When we come out, they'd write back to us. We get all this hate mail. You're a Bush basher, and people get emotionally attached to these things. Well, that's not true with the Democrats. The Democrats are a wimpier class, the Wimpocrats, I like to call them. So there's going to be shots taking out, verbal shots, political shots, God forbid, other types. But they're going to really go after this administration early on. But then there's something else that's going to be going on. And we saw it already with Obama on the economic front. They're all on the same page, the Republicans and the Democrats, the majority of them, on the economic issues. And the economic issues that both parties are concerned with are supporting Wall Street and the too big to fails. Remember, Obama was the prime pusher on the Democratic side for that $700 billion bailout.
That's true. That's true.
So you're going to see both parties working very closely together, and this is going to be new in that sense of robbing more money from the American people to keep their pals going strong. And again, when they like to talk about Obama getting half his money from small donations, but they're not talking a lot about where he got most of his other money from, and it was from the corporate side, particularly the financial sector. And again, by their deeds you shall know them. Look who is in his inside group. It's the Goldman Sachs gang. So it's going to be more of the same, but reality, the honeymoon's going to be short, and there's going to be a lot of attacks coming against this administration because no one is going to be able to fix it, and the movie gets really boring after a while when you're hungry, you're cold, you don't have a job, and you don't want to hear any more campaign slogans. So we're going to start seeing rough things start to happen.
And, and I'm also concerned about, as you mentioned, this 45 missile blitz toward the Israelis from Gaza. I mean, that could erupt into a huge situation. Stay with us. We'll take your phone calls next with Gerald Celente on Coast to Coast AM.